Hi, Curly Esquire here. I am making this video about why law school for me. And Eugene, my very first commenter, asked that question. And it's a very appropriate question, especially considering that that's what this channel is about, me charting my law school experience and also trying to be helpful to others who may be considering a similar path. So why law school? Well, let me start off with present. I am a non-traditional law student, and if you're not familiar with that term, it simply means that I didn't go straight to college, graduate, and then come right to law school. I am in my mid-30s. I'm actually 35, and I'll be 36 in September. And I'm really okay with sharing that because I know that I look fantastic for all of 35 going on 36. Um, I blend in with the traditional law students. And so, because I'm 35, I had about 15 years of experience in corporate America before deciding to come to law school. Um, and I resigned from I worked for a law school, a law firm for 3 years, and I resigned in March of 2010. And that's a pretty interesting story as well that I'll share another time. But so, okay, I resigned in 2010, and at the time, I need to resign because I was working full time. I was going to school full time, finishing up my undergrad, and that was my last semester. But I also knew that if I wanted to start law school for the following fall semester, I needed to take the LSAT. And I felt that I needed intense prep for the LSAT. And if you're not familiar with the LSAT acronym, it's the Law School Admissions Test. And it's a test that's weighed very heavily when a law school is considering admitting a student and evaluating that file. Um, and so, yes, there's not an ABA accredited school, American Bar Association accredited school that I know of that would consider admitting a student who's not taking the LSAT exam. Okay, so let me rewind. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer. And so, unlike lots of kids, I wasn't watching cartoons. I was watching People's Court, Superior Court, Supreme Court, Divorce Court, whatever court show was on TV. I was just so enamored by it. I was entertained by the fact that when people had disputes, they could come to a forum, present facts and details about what happened that brought them to that point, and then have this independent person um, take those facts and hand down a decision, a judgment. I I loved it, and so that was my first introduction to the law. And you know, I remember I was probably around 12 years old, maybe 11 years old. My mom's a nurse, and she took me to her job. And, a lot of people say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so I said, oh, I want to be a lawyer. And my mom's coworker said, oh, you'll change your mind by then or later on, something like that. She told me I was going to change my mind. And at the time, I wasn't dissuaded, but um, it came to a point not that many years ago where I realized that when she said that, it planted a seed that has a lot, I think, has a lot to do with why I didn't go to law school right away. Growing up, even like in high school, in my senior year of high school, when I was applying to colleges, I didn't have anyone who said to me, well, Kelly, these are the steps that you need to take. I didn't know um, very many professionals. And there was just really no one that took an interest in um, my professional well-being. Um, so I kind of, made a lot of decisions on my own, and I motivated myself. And, with motivating myself, I also kind of like, demotivated myself. When I was a senior in high school, I have a cousin of mine who I love dearly, but I've shared this with her. Um, when I was a senior in high school and I was telling her about, the schools I was applying to, um, I would look up schools that either had political science or who had pre-law programs. And even in knowing that that would be those programs would be good programs to take if I was interested in law school, were things that I found out and investigated on my own. So she said, well, how long is law school? And, I don't know if I knew the answer to that, but we had this conversation, and in the conversation, I decided to change my mind about going to law school because she said that it would take too long. So 4 years of college and 3 years of law school, that would take 7 years. And, when you are 16, 17 years old, 7 years feels like forever. So I didn't have an adult mentor who could give me wisdom and direction and say, well, as long as you're alive, 7 years is going to pass just like that. And you might as well do something that's productive and that will, benefit you, tenfold, years down the line. And so I changed my mind about going to law school and about choosing a college that had those kind of programs because, at that point it didn't make any sense because it would take too long. And so I did go to school and I received a paralegal certification, but I didn't even apply that because at that time I was already working in an administrative capacity, and that the job that I was working at the time paid more than the entry-level paralegal positions that were available. So hence I stayed in corporate America for 15 years. Fast forward, life happened. I was married, divorced, two beautiful girls. And, it came to a point in my life where sorry, where, what I was doing was just not good enough. I have had so much potential, and I realized that, I don't want to make somebody's photocopies for the rest of my life. I really just cannot see myself answering somebody else's phone for the rest of my life. And at that time, I was working at a law firm. And when I first, when I, okay, there's going to have to be a part two to this. I have to take this call, and I'm sorry that I don't know how to edit yet.